Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. We got some people already joining in the chat. I want to say hi to Linda, Peggy, Maria, Reefer, Helden. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but hello. We got some people here from Singapore, from Germany, from Florida, Iowa. I'm actually currently in Michigan right now, but next week when we tune in together, I'm actually going to be in Chicago. So if there's anyone also from Chicago, comment, let me know if you are in that area, if you're originally from there, or if you're just traveling there. But I'm going to be there next Thursday, so my background's going to look a little different, but I'm still very much so going to be here next week at 9 Central, 10 Eastern, okay? So I'm seeing a couple of different people too. We've got some Missouri, Canada, San Francisco. Hello, hello. I don't know if you guys are, excuse me, I have had a frog in my throat literally all morning this morning. It looks like Tracy is from Chicago and she lives near Indianapolis now. That's awesome. India is one of my favorite cities. So I don't know if you guys are interested in football at all. If you are, drop a football emoji or something in the comments. But today is the beginning of draft day for the NFL draft. So I'm wearing a shirt that I made for my print on demand. I live in Lansing, Michigan, but Detroit, Michigan is where the draft is taking place tonight. So I don't necessarily care about football, but it's really popular in this particular part of the town right now. So I decided to rep a little bit today. So if you guys are also football fans, let me know if you guys are excited about the draft today. It looks like Tracy's a Bears fan, of course, which makes sense because she said she was from Chicago. So for today, guys, I do apologize. I have had, like I said, a frog in my throat all morning, so I will try my best to not cough in y'all's ears all morning. But today should be super fun. It should also be very interactive and engaging. So I would love for you guys that are all watching today, what we are going to do together is talk about how to understand and read and review our own shop analytics, both through Etsy and through EverBee. So if you guys are interested, of course, if you're watching the replay also and you weren't able to tune in live with us, I would highly recommend doing this as well. I really, really want today to be engaging. I want you guys to ask questions on the spot. And in order to do that, I would love for you guys to follow along with me in your own shops. So what I want you to do, good Lord, what I want you to do, if you have the ability, is go ahead and head over to your shop manager. And then we're basically just going to walk through some stuff together on Etsy. If you also are on one of the EverBee plans, whether hobby, growth, or enterprise, I would love to also see if you can upload or if you can open that up as well. And we are going to take a look into both of those platforms. Why I want to do this today is just so it's not me talking at you guys and showing things that's more learning without doing. I would love for you guys to actually ask questions while you're in your own shops if possible. Okay. So I'm going to take, good Lord, I'm going to take a quick couple seconds for you to be able to open up your shop manager, open up your EverBee dashboard so we can all follow along together today, okay? Also, I have this really cute cup today. It's called, it says Rebel Without a Claus, and it's Santa Claus. So yes, I'm one of those girls that buys something for Christmas and then drinks out of it all year long, or wears it all year long. All right, I might be grabbing water a little more than I would usually do today, just so I can not, like I said, cough in your ears. But like I mentioned, we're going to go over shop analytics today through EverBee and through Etsy. I have screenshots of my own accounts, so I'm going to basically walk you guys through exactly how to find these things, as well as how to kind of understand them, interpret them, and then, of course, apply them for future use. It looks like Created by EJF is currently wearing a Christmas shirt. I love that. If you ever happen to go to my personal TikTok, it's mostly me wearing not seasonal stuff during the season that it's not in. So I'll be wearing a Halloween thing in February, a Valentine's thing in October. So it is what it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. Maybe. Yep, there we go. All right, so the first thing, let me make sure we're in the right place. So the first thing we're going to do is when we are in EverBee. I wanted to start there first, and then I'm going to navigate my way into Etsy, okay? So when we're in EverBee on the dashboard, there's going to be a couple of things that we can see. The first one is just going to be an overall at the very top. Obviously, you can see I've kind of piecemealed this particular presentation. But if you're in the right location on the EverBee dashboard and you're logged in and your Etsy account, or excuse me, your Etsy shop is connected to your EverBee account, that is very, very important to be able to see what I see. As long as those things are acting appropriately, you should at the very top see what's called like the dashboard that goes over, depending on what parameters you have. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit for you guys. Depending on the parameters you have for timeline. So let's say past 30 days, past year, you can customize these to, I think, like 7 different time parameters. You'll be able to see gross revenue, average order value, total orders, lifetime value, repeat rate, etc. Again, for that particular timeline. What's really cool in EverBee as well is you can actually click either on the individual squares themselves to be able to see each of the individual graphs growing out. So right now I'm currently reading revenue. If I wanted to read total orders, for example, the little, I don't know what this is called, but we're just going to call it a graph. The little like wavy graph is going to obviously adjust a little bit to show the where do I actually have the orders taking place. So Tia K's just asked before I keep going. Like I said, I want this to be as interactive and engaging as possible. So she just asked, where do I find the dashboard? She's only ever used the extension. Such a good question. I should have started with that. Go to EverBee.io. And like I mentioned, as long as your Etsy shop is connected to EverBee, you should see this in there. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat right now. There you go. So let me know if for whatever reason, Tia or anybody else, you don't see that. And then we can obviously do some troubleshooting together, or we can do it on the back end for you. But let's try that first. Then what you're going to see as you scroll a little bit down further past the individual like wavy graphs is the actual recent reviews that you've received in that particular shop. So if you have a couple of different shops attached, because you are able to do that within EverBee, you might see different reviews from those different shops. It might only show the one shop, not 100% sure without actually looking at it myself on yours. Okay, so Heather just said she's having problems signing on. She doesn't see a login, just a sign in for free. So if you want to, actually, we can do this together right now. Hold on one second. Let me see what you see. All right, so I'm going to share my other screen real quick. All right, so on this page, if you guys are here, EverBee.io, if you go click, I know it's kind of weird because I told you to sign in and it's like sign up, but go ahead and click try for free. And then it will either do one of two things. Either if you've already logged into EverBee.io in the past, it will go ahead and take you to the dashboard that I'm looking at right now. If you have not, it will prompt you to log in. And there's 2 different ways that you can do so. The first way is actually going to be like your email address and your password that is associated or like attached to your EverBee account. The second option is actually to sign in through Etsy. So if you don't know if your Etsy shop is attached to EverBee.io, I would recommend signing in through that option instead. All right, so let me know if you still have any issues over here. I'm keeping up my comments so I can watch in. So like I mentioned, you're going to be able to see different reviews that are taking place from your shop. And then you're also going to be able to see the top selling products. And then what was the like kind of up or down flow? So did things increase? Again, relating back to the original time parameter that we discussed. So let's just use this one, for example. March 27th through April 25th. So give or take past 30 days, that's what's also going to come up here. So it's going to show your top selling products, exactly what they were. And then again, in this particular instance, I am looking at revenue. So it is showing me this one went up by $175, this one went up by $76, etc. If you had the other ones, the other metrics, average order value, total orders, etc., those would show up. So I hope that makes sense, but I would love for you guys to locate this yourself and test it really fast, play around with it a little bit while we're continuing on this page. Julie says, I've done this. My shop is not being attached because she doesn't have access to all of the features in the trial. Good question, Julie. So if you are on like a 14-day free trial right now, which you should just be able to get the hobby plan completely for free, so you don't even have to worry about having a trial or putting your credit card in. As long as you are on the hobby plan, you should be able very easily to connect your shop. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that really quickly. Let me get logged in real fast to myself as well. And I'll tell you exactly what to start clicking on. So in the, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to share this screen. Maybe. Hold on one sec. Hello, is it working? I don't know if it's working. Can y'all see what I see? Yes, you can. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is go ahead and drop down up here where there's nothing more than likely for you if you are not attached yet. So what we can do is go ahead and click either add new here, and then it will allow you to log in to Etsy. So if we click add new, theoretically, it should take me here. Yes. Okay. So obviously there's things that I'm already connected, so I can't do that right now. But you can click add new, and then it will take you to the location where you can connect your Etsy shop. Or like I mentioned a second ago, you can go ahead and just log in with Etsy instead. And then that should be able to also show you what I see here. So again, let me know if you guys are having any trouble with that as well. Okay, so someone else just said, I just opened the shop, so there's no sales and no reviews yet. Am I in the right place? More than likely, if you just opened your shop and you truly do not have any sales or reviews, and these numbers are reflecting as 0, that completely makes sense because we just haven't had any of those metrics take place. As you start to get things, those will update in real time, and you can also click the refresh button on the top right-hand corner to be able to get, like, let's say you get a sale today, for example, which I'm hoping for all of you. If you get a sale today, you can click refresh, and then within 24 hours, it should be able to update that for you, okay? The next thing you're going to see on the dashboard is just something that has nothing to do with analytics, but I really just wanted to point this out real fast because I think, like, I'm always telling you guys, if you are not, if you're failing to plan, you are planning to fail. I actually have that written on my wall. I should have just looked at it and read it. But this is a really cool thing that EverBee does for you, where it shows the upcoming holidays, which I just thought was so fun. I've actually never even used this feature until today. But if you look at the upcoming holidays on your EverBee dashboard, you're going to be able to see the different things that are taking place, like that might be less competition. Because obviously Mother's Day, Father's Day, Halloween, Christmas, like we all know about those, but National Arbor Day, Kentucky Oats, I've never even heard of that before. Kentucky Oaks, sorry, I was saying that wrong. So the cool thing about this is showing different things that are taking place over the next like week or two. And you can actually click view products next to all of them and see if there's any products that you could maybe, proactively think about for next year for this season, or maybe there's something that lasts longer. Let's just say summer, for example, like that could be something that you can start analyzing right here in EverBee. So I literally just found that today and I thought it was cool. So I wanted to show you guys as well. The next thing that we can see, let me zoom out a tiny baby bit real fast. There we go. The next thing that we're going to see when we're on the dashboard, and again, if you don't see this, that is okay, because it more than likely means that either your Etsy shop is not connected appropriately, which we can all work on together. If you want to reach out to hello@everbee.io, we can help you out on the tech team as well. Another reason is because you just haven't made any sales yet, or obviously the third reason being you don't have any listings live yet, which is also fine. So what we're going to see, though, is on EverBee, I personally like to go to everbee.io for this. And then under research tools, you're going to see my listings. So under my listings, this is what comes up. So yours is obviously going to look a little different. That's why I said I really, I'm going to have some things blurred out here because it's obviously my shop. So we're going to have some things blurred out. which is why I wanted you guys to kind of work with me in tandem, looking at your stuff at the same time, okay? So let's interpret some numbers together. What you're going to see is average total sales, again, being within whatever time parameter you set. So in this particular instance, I went ahead and had it at this year, so 2024. If you have, let's see, for the past month, if you want to do this year compared to last year, like by all means, completely up to you. That's where you would set those parameters. And then we're going to have, average total sales, average price of items sold. Keep that in mind. So when we see 2388 or whatever yours is reflecting as, it's basically everything that has sold in your shop during, again, this time parameter divided by, so the revenue number divided by the number of sales that took place. So as a quick example, let's just say we had $100 worth of revenue. And then I can't do math, so I'm pulling up a calculator, but, and then we did, let's say there were 10 orders, whatever. So we do 100 divided by 10. Simple math will tell us that our average price was $10, right? So that's what that number is going to be. Then we're going to have average views, favorites, reviews, and conversion rate. So those are the big metrics that you can see at the top of the My Listings dashboard. Then you can drive a little bit deeper into the individual listings at that time as well. So the good news is EverBee does a little bit of the work for you. So yes, Ryan's just asked, are we going to be looking up with Etsy as well? 100%. The first 2 pages of this training is EverBee, and then literally the remaining 15 are in Etsy. So yes, we will be going through Etsy analytics, but I wanted to show you guys that EverBee kind of does a little bit of the work for you as well. And it also has certain things that Etsy is not counting. So like the visibility score, for example, that is something that is one of my favorite metrics within EverBee. And I'm putting myself out there, you guys, we are live today. I'm showing you my exact stats for this particular shop. A little bit of self-deprecation on this Thursday morning for you guys. There's one item that I'm seeing in my shop. If I zoom in a little bit more. And this is one of the shops that I have. This is a digital download shop. So one item made $715 during the time parameter that I set for it. And the good news is it also had 524 views, a 0.38% conversion rate. I'm not happy with that number. I need to get that number up. So in my brain, I'm thinking, what can I do to get the conversion? So not the views. The views are doing well, but how do I get more purchases out of those 520 views? That's where my brain is going. But I'm also seeing there was 100% visibility score for that particular item, which is the item that made me the most money during that period. So I'm happy to see that, because that means obviously something is going well. But Melissa just asked, she's not seeing her disability score. It's visibility score, but I love disability score because mine looks like a disability score right now because they're not doing too hot. So what I need you to do, Melissa, is scroll to the right. Just keep on scrolling at the very bottom. As you can see, you can't see it. I thought that I took a screenshot of it, but you can't. But if you scroll all the way to the right, you should be able to see the visibility score, conversion rate, shop age, etc. We might just not be scrolled all the way over. So do that for me first. Someone, Miss Anushe, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, said that she cannot receive the reviews on the right-hand side. The question I would have for you twofold would be, one, do you already have reviews? Obviously, because those would need to sync over. And then, of course, if you do, fantastic. Is your Etsy shop connected? Both of those two things I would want to be 100% certain of. And then if so, pop a help desk ticket in with EverBee, and then let's see exactly what's going on your dashboard, okay? So Peggy's Little Corner just said, how do I increase the visibility score? My listings are all at 0. Fantastic question. We are going to jump a little bit deeper into that a little bit today, but also Peggy's Little Corner, if you were not on last week and 2 weeks ago, we actually did a full-blown Etsy SEO training that was 2 hours long. Highly recommend going and checking that out too, because that will help get these things more visible. Okay, so that's where we're at on EverBee. So I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that a couple of these things were already in the My Listings tab of the EverBee dashboard. Okay, now, oh wait, I lied. There was one more thing. So the other thing I wanted to show you was in these individual listings. So we see these up here, the My Listings tab. I totally forgot to tell you guys this, but you can actually click on each of them. So obviously I have some that are at 0, just like Peggy mentioned, and I'm like, ooh, I need to go fix that. And one of the ways to look at how to fix it is actually being able to click on it individually, just like we would in the product analytics dashboard. And then we can actually see exactly how that item is doing. So we're able to see, you know, maybe we need to switch up our, the photo, the beginning photo. Maybe we need to add more photos that make a little bit more sense and explain as much as possible to the potential buyer. Maybe we need to update our title, because when we talk about visibility, it truly is that we are like being visible, right? So the problem being, if we are not being visible right now, it means that we are not being presented in searches to the right people. So again, if you did not go watch the Etsy SEO training from last week and 2 weeks ago, again, it was a 2-part series. Those are both live on our YouTube channel. Highly recommend you check those out, because we dove a little bit deeper into like what a search query is, how Etsy matches them, etc. So that's going to be the training on how to increase that visibility score. Today, we're going to look at all of the analytics that come from making those changes. So I hope that makes sense. Looks like a couple of people are saying, let's see. Okay, beautiful. So Leslie says, showing 20 of $3.99 at bottom right-hand corner. How do I see the next page of products? So I'm assuming you're talking about My Listings, if I'm not mistaken. If that's wrong, please let me know. But there should just be a numbers list or an arrow or something that you can click to be able to hop to the next couple of pages, just like we would on the product analytics dashboard as well. Let me know if that didn't make sense, or if I was misunderstanding your question. All right, so now what we're going to do, like I said, I'm going to have the questions up as I'm talking, so we can kind of hit all of the questions at the same time that we're going over the topic. So what we're going to do now is dive into exactly how to read things on Etsy, right? So we were reading things on EverBee. There were some things that EverBee shows us that Etsy doesn't, which is awesome. But we're also very cognizant that it also is the other way as well. So there's some things that Etsy gives us that is very, very important for us to know, to be able to plan for the future, make changes in the now, and pat ourselves on the back for the past, okay? So when you first go into, we're going to change directions a little bit. We're going to kind of pivot. We're moving away from EverBee, and we're jumping into our shop manager on Etsy, okay? So I'm going to take a quick little sip of my drink and make sure that everyone is in the exact same place I am. So just go to Etsy, click on the little shop manager icon in the top right-hand corner, and then we're just going to hang out there together for a second. I'm so glad I have not coughed on you guys yet. Okay, so it looks like there was no arrow. That's very interesting. GT Sussex, I know I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm so sorry. If you are in the Facebook group, I would love for you to take a screenshot of what you see. Obviously, get rid of anything that has to do with your shop. Get rid of any like private information. But if you have a screenshot of what you're seeing and you want to pop it in the Facebook group, right when I get off of this call, I will go check that out and see if I can kind of help troubleshoot with you. If not, go ahead and just reach out to hello@everbee.io, excuse me, if there is a little bit of a glitch that we might be experiencing. And then I'm going to go ahead and star gratitude relaxations question. I did get it. I do see it, but we're going to star that and come back to it in just a little while, if that's okay with you. So like I mentioned, we are all hopefully in the shop manager. Again, if you are watching this on the replay, go to Etsy, go to your shop manager so we can all follow along together and start seeing these numbers, okay? So what we're going to do under shop manager is you should see this list on the left-hand side. We're going to be in 2 to 3 places together today. The first one is going to be stats. So go ahead and click on stats for me. Once you do that, what yours should theoretically look like, somewhat similar to this, you should be able to see a drop down that says something along the lines, again, just like EverBee, of what the actual timeline, the parameters that we are trying to look at these metrics for. In this particular case, I just selected this year, and then you'll be able to see these kinds of things pop up under that, okay? So I'm just literally going to go graph by graph and talk about the things that I really want you guys to focus on. The first thing, obviously, is the parameters up top, or excuse me, the metrics up top are very important. So how much money did you make? Was it a good conversion rate? Standardly in e-commerce, anything like 2.5% to 5% is doing well. So a 3.8, for example, is a healthy conversion rate. And how we get that number, because I get this question a lot. So if you already know this, just ignore the next 5 seconds of me talking. If you don't know this, the conversion rate right here is very, very simple. It is literally orders divided by visits. So 949 divided by 25,000. That's all it is. And that brings us to that 3.8. So if you're ever wondering, why do I only have a 0.05? Why do I have a 5%? Why do I have a 20%? One of the girls in our group, Casey, actually had I think it was like a 25% conversion rate in one day, which was insane to look at. So that if you're ever wondering what that number is, it's those two numbers compared to each other pretty much. Then what we have is you're going to have basically 4 different options to look at, just like EverBee is. So in this particular case, as you can see, I am looking at visits. How you can know which metric you're looking at is you're going to have this little black line under whatever you're doing. So in this case, you can see I'm looking at visits. I can always click on conversion rate, revenue, etc. And then again, based on the timeline that we are looking at, those things will start to fluctuate, okay? So then what you'll see based on the metric that you are currently diving into, again, I'm looking at visits, right? You're going to be able to see here, Etsy's going to tell you, are you doing better? Are you on par? Are you doing worse compared to that same period from last year? If you're a brand new shop, this is going to be moot, of course, or if you haven't been alive, for more than 12 months, don't worry about that number because it will kind of be skewed because there's no historicals, right? So in this particular case, you'll be able to see compared to previous year, if you have a shop that has been alive for more than 12 months for the time parameter we're looking at, you'll be able to see, and this is, by the way, not toggled on until you do it. So I recommend, this is what I do pretty much every month, I like to see compared to previous blank. So in this particular case, we're comparing to previous year, and you'll be able to see black solid with dots is current. So our custom time period that's happening right now that we asked Etsy to look at. Then you're going to see the dashed with little squares is going to be the prior version of metrics. Okay. So I hope all of that makes sense. The other thing I wanted to show you with this that I think is very important, especially as we are gearing up for new seasons, gearing up for, let's say Q4, etc. You're going to be able to actually click on the individual things themselves. So let's just say the circle or the square. Also, if you do not have compared to previous year toggled on, that's totally fine. You'll just be able to see this solid black line. If you do have both of them, or if you only have one, when you actually click on the individual little pieces of data, you're actually going to be able to pull up each individual time period. So for this particular example, October 2023 had 6,000, let's just round up, had 6,000 visits comparatively to 2022, October, 1,300 visits, right? So that's where kind of these numbers are going to come into play. And if you ever wanted to dive into exactly what went well or what went poorly or what was, again, on par, to be able to prep for that exact same time period this year. That is how I personally like to do it, is just going either month by month, day by day, whatever time parameters you put in, hour by hour, because you can literally click today and do hour by hour as well. And then just hovering over each of those to be able to see exactly what took place during that time, okay? So before we move on, I got a couple of questions I want to make sure that I drive into real fast. Oh, thank you, Tia. So it actually looks like Tia brought up for GT Sussex, saying that if she scrolled down in her My Listings tab, it actually added more automatically. So GT Sussex, I would try doing that first and foremost, or anybody else that might personally have, that struggle as well. Linda said hers is at 0. I'm assuming that means the conversion rate. And then Julianne is at 0.2. It's a start. I love that mindset. I love that mentality. That is so, so true. Anything, over 0 is something that we only have the ability to keep growing, right? So don't worry if you're currently at a 0% conversion rate. There are a lot of ways that we can adjust that, which we will go over a few today, okay? Someone also, David Hardy, asked, I have a best-selling item, but want to make a change to the main listing image. Oh, good question. Will that impact the algorithm? I don't think anybody in the world knows this. However, there are 2 YouTubers that I trust wholeheartedly. And I'm going to not quote them, but I'm going to say what they've said. The titles, tags, I think that's it. The titles and tags, we do not want to adjust at all, because that is literally driving those views, which are driving potentially the conversions as well, which again is potentially making you a bestseller. So never change those if you have a best-selling item. I get a little weary with adjusting. Again, this is not a yes or no, so just take my advice and run with it however you please. But I get a little weary adjusting the first photo of an image, or of a listing that is performing substantially well. The reason why I think that is because, as we talked about last week on the Etsy SEO training, that's like one of the main things, if not the main thing, that the buyers are actually seeing. So yes, the title and tags are, helping the algorithm push you higher in search to match what they put in the search bar. But the photo is what's making them click. Like I don't know about y'all, but I'm not looking at the title at all. I'm looking at the photos. I'm looking at the videos, right? So if you already have an incredible best-selling item, I would personally recommend, Julianne also said this as well, if you really want to change the listing photo, I would recommend duplicating the listing as is. So don't change the bestseller, just make a new one, and then make the new listing photo on that new listing, and then see what happens. Because I would hate for A/B testing to be done on a listing that's already doing well, and then your sales plummet because maybe the main listing photo was a huge driver for those sales. However, if you want to test it, I would just recommend making another one, testing with that new listing photo, and then my hope for you would be now you have 2 best-selling listings, okay? All right, let's get back into it. I think I answered all the questions in there. The next thing that's going to happen whenever you are on the stats section of, again, the shop manager in your Etsy dashboard, okay? You're going to see shopper stats. As you can see, this is in beta. This has only been a thing for, I don't know, like a couple months now. But it's kind of cool to be able to dive a little bit deeper into the analytics of your actual buyers and or people who came to your shop. Even if they didn't take an action, they came and even if they didn't buy and they took one action, the shopper stats actually walk you through that. And Etsy's literally telling you almost exactly what to do to make these things increase, okay? So the first one is item favorites. Again, this has to do with the time parameter that you set at the top of the stats page, right? So whatever you put in there is also what's going to reflect here. If you change that, same concept, okay? So item favorites, you're going to see in this particular case, whatever yours says, might be different, but 1325 favorites during that time period. You're also going to see 871 offers were emailed. So I highlighted this, and then I also highlighted offer details, because if you don't see this, we got something to fix. That's one thing that we can immediately fix together, okay? So what this is in Etsy, which hopefully you guys know this. If you don't, again, if you do, just ignore the next 1 minute of me talking. If you don't, I want to make sure everyone hears this very clearly. In Etsy, there are 3 different emails that Etsy can automatically send for us. So it has nothing to do with EverBee email. It's actually right there in the Etsy dashboard, or the Etsy Shop Manager dashboard. So if you don't have those cut on, you won't see this, and you are missing out on potentially thousands of dollars in sales. So when someone comes to either of my shops, favorites an item, within around, I want to say like 24 hours or so, they are automatically sent an email from Etsy on my behalf that says, hey, you favorited this item. We want to thank you for stopping by. Here's a 10% off discount to apply to that item or anything else in the shop. If you guys do not have those 3 things set up, I highly, highly, highly recommend going ahead and making that an absolute priority for the day today. How you're going to do that is in your shop manager. Again, I can't really share my screen right now simply because I'm looking at my own Etsy shop right now. But I'm going to walk you guys exactly through it. When you're in the shop manager, we're going to go to marketing, and then we're going to go to sales and discounts. When you click on that, there's going to be a couple of different options. Obviously, you can create a promo code, run a sale, etc. But there is something in blue that basically says automatically send offers to interested shoppers. If you do not have those set up yet, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do that, because as you can see, 1,300 favorites took place for me during that time parameter. And because 1,300 people favorited, 870 emails were sent to those people, which theoretically could also turn into sales if they were really convinced by that 10% off coupon, okay? So I just wanted to take a quick little caveat to let you guys know. If that is not there, like I said, if you don't have that set up, you can click offer details and begin setting that up as well. So whether you go marketing, sales and discounts, and then set them up, or you can click offer details and it will break all of that down for you as well, okay? The next thing we're gonna look at is it's kind of twofold. Shop follows and reviews. So these are, again, in your shopper stats. You should be able to see these on your dashboard. So how many follows you got, again, during that particular time parameter. And then it's also going to tell you in total if you're not looking at, all time. Then reviews, same thing here. So, 253 reviews took place during that time. What's really cool here, again, Etsy makes it very easy for you. They're not just giving you the analytics and then just dropping off. They're actually giving you the opportunity to go to reviews, and it literally says right here, read and reply to reviews. So someone asked me last week when we were on the Etsy SEO training, do I have to? And I hate that word, because in my opinion, I'm like, maybe toxic positivity, but like, you get to respond to these reviews. But someone said, do I have to respond to reviews? Like, will that make or break me? And it's not going to do either per se. It's not going to do, it's not going to make you surge in SEO. But at the same time, they're literally telling you right here in your shopper stats that is going to increase your potential customer service, also potentially more sales, because people are seeing that you are active in your shop, you're responding, you are telling people thank you, if they said something good, if they said something bad, etc. It looks like someone also did ask a quick question. When an eligible shopper favorites your item but doesn't buy it, they'll get an email with your offer. Eligible shoppers have opted in to receive email marketing. Yes, that's a really good point, because Linda asked the question, what would make a shopper ineligible to get an email from favoriting something in your shop? The answer is nothing. However, there, as you saw, my numbers were 800 versus 1,300. So that's a little I know, conflicting to my message. I don't know 100% certainty why. My only thought would be, to be honest, maybe personally for me, maybe I don't think this is the case, but maybe I didn't have the favorites emails on. Like maybe I didn't turn them on and then 500 people missed out. Couldn't tell you. But as long as someone is favoriting, purchasing, adding to cart, etc. in Etsy, all of them are completely eligible based on what Etsy, of course, if they, it bounces and it won't go to their email, but they should all be eligible to receive emails from Etsy. What couldn't happen there is us taking those emails from our orders and popping them into EverBee email. That is illegal. Do not recommend. Okay. Now let's move on really quick to the last two. The city's reach is kind of like, that's up to you if you want to. Yes, Peggy did bring up maybe they opted out of marketing emails. If there were people that favorited and then they just basically said unsubscribe to Etsy marketing emails, 100% that is a great answer. The other thing I wanted to show you guys was repeat buyers. So in the same place that we were at earlier, so in those emails that, Etsy can automatically send out for us, we have thank you, abandoned cart, favorited item. So here is another one that Etsy is basically saying, hey girl, I sent out 950 emails on your behalf during this period. You're welcome to say thank you to the people that purchased. And I gave them that 10% discount that you wanted, which they're saying maybe brought in 51 repeat buyers during that time. The cool thing about this, and also the not cool thing, because we can't dive too much deeper into this, but the cool thing is, like, maybe those people would have never purchased from me again, but they did because, I'm going to put in quotes, they did because of the email that we had set up in Etsy. And then also what's kind of annoying that we can't dive again too much deeper in here, but of those 51 repeat buyers, it doesn't mean 51 new items were bought. It means like 51 people, 51 buyers, they could have literally bought 10 more times and Etsy still would have classified them as one time. So I hope that makes sense. And then of course, cities reached, by all means, if you want to look at that, you can, especially based on what we were talking about last week in the Etsy SEO series of like, what kind of verbiage, what kind of jargon, what kind of language should I use? If your cities and countries are not US based, maybe it's time to start thinking not US language. That might be an option as well. And then of course you can dive into the learn how if you wanted to create shipping labels with Etsy. For this particular shop, it was a digital shop, so it didn't matter. And then I also do print on demand for the other shop. So I don't personally have to do shipping labels, but you could be saving money if you wanted to. And again, they have that little button right there for you to be able to figure out how to do it. All right. So the next thing I want to dive into real fast is if you scroll down a little bit, we should all be able to see the same thing. Okay. So we should all be able to be just scrolling down. Mine's going to look a little different because I'm doing screenshots, but the next thing that you should run into is how shoppers found you. What I wanted to go ahead and highlight here is there should also be something that says get a quick rundown. And I also put the link article in here. I'll go ahead and copy this into the chat as well. Hold on one second. There you go. So in that, it basically just gives you a rundown of what each of these individual metrics equal, like what are they looking at? And then how are we finding these individual things? So I went ahead and put that in the chat. If you want to take a look at it, you can also click get a quick rundown as well. Someone just asked, are we planning on covering Etsy ad stats today? No, that is an entirely own conversation itself. That is much, much deeper than we're going to be able to hit on today since it's already 10:45. But please do come back. By the way, if you guys are not, whether you're watching this on the replay or you're watching it live with me today, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, help a girl out. Please do, because that's how you're going to be able to be notified whenever I go live for the Etsy ads overview. You guys also asked me to do a social media marketing series for Etsy. So we're going to be doing that over the next few weeks as well. So if I can ask everybody who's on this call right now, or again, if you are watching the replay, go like this video. It's only going to be able to help EverBee get a little bit further out and be able to provide you guys with continued awesome features on a literal quarterly basis at this point. They're kind of blowing my mind right now. And then, of course, if you are not subscribed to the channel, highly, highly recommend, because I will notify you guys, or YouTube will notify you guys when those things take place, okay? So when we're in the How Shoppers Found You, someone asked earlier, like, how do I get my visibility score up? How do I, increase my conversion rate from 0 or 0.2%? This is a really, really good location to figure that out. So as you can see, all of these being underlined, except for social media, obviously you can drop that one down, but all of these being underlined means they are clickable. So it allows us to drive deeper into each of these. What we are going to want to look at as it relates to SEO, the right keywords you're using, the right titles, etc., is obviously Etsy marketing and SEO, and then Etsy search. Of course, you can also look at Etsy app and other Etsy pages as well, but these two are the two that are really going to tell us, is my SEO even working for me? Are my keywords even helping, etc.? Okay, so just keep that in mind, that we can drive into each of these individually. And of course, you're also going to be able to see, again, are we doing great? Are we on par? Are we doing worse? And then all three of those different types of numbers are telling a story that we can then go take action on, okay? What's really cool here is Etsy brought 84% of visits, which I was actually really surprised about, to be honest, for this particular shop that I was working in. But what's also cool is you brought in blank percent of visits. So direct and other traffic means that I sent a link, whether it be a share and save link, whether it be an email with a product attached to it through EverBee email, whatever. That's, I sent 16%, which, as you can see, is give or take around like 3,300, 3,200 or so. But Etsy obviously did the bulk of the work for me, which means my SEO was more than likely where it needed to be. So now what we can do, like I mentioned a second ago, all of these little lines, ones with lines under them, are clickable. So let's say we click on Etsy app and other Etsy pages to dive even deeper into those numbers. So when we do that, you're going to be able to see the over time what took place. So January, shot up a lot, right? And then December, I kind of dropped down. September, I was doing really good. April, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'm not doing well in April at all, because I've been focused on you guys and I have not been focused on my own Etsy business at all for the past like 60 days. But you'll be able to see up here what the breakdown of each of these are. So again, you can set your time parameters. You can drop into each of these. You can, again, hover over each of these dates or times or whatever your custom time parameters are. You can drop through all of those and then figure out like what was the actual number that took place during those pages. So like I said, all of these that are underlined are clickable. So I highly recommend going through each of them yourself to figure out exactly what's going on in your own shop. Okay. All right, let's keep on keeping on. The next thing is going to be your most visited listings. So what you're going to see is the listing and the title and the photos, and there's going to be like 5 to 7 of them depending on like how big your screen is. And then on the visits, you're going to be able to see those over here as well. Again, you can change the parameter or the metric that you're looking at. So it doesn't have to be visits, but in this particular case it was. And what's even cooler, which is probably my favorite part, is you're able to click into that listing. So like if you guys are not looking at all of these stats on a like literal probably weekly or at minimum monthly basis, like we're not owning our business. We are not, and as like I said in April, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not owning my business right now. I am owning you guys. Like you are my priority. You are my business right now. So if I showed you April, it wouldn't be that pretty, but I want you guys to really think about how to dive into these, why they are important to you, and just really add it in to your like weekly agenda. Like we talked about, I want to say it was like 3 weeks ago or so. I don't think I can find my little friend. He's missing. Nope. So we talked about eat the big frog first. I really don't know where my frog. Oh, there he is. Hold on. My frog fell on the ground. So we talked about eating the big frog first about 3 or so weeks ago, and how to do different money-making tasks for your business and setting a priority on them instead of letting them continue to fall by the wayside. So with that, I highly recommend checking these analytics out and not being frustrated with them, but just looking at it as an opportunity to learn, to improve, to test. Is like I said, if you can do weekly, awesome. If not, let's just make it like a paycheck. Let's make it the 15th of the month. You commit to looking at this. The 31st of the month, you commit to looking at this and then making changes for the new parameters coming up, okay? Tracy, that's such a good point. She said it's overwhelming to look at all of these things, and she hasn't taken the time to actually just truly look at it and understand it. Girl, I hear you. And that is why we are all here together today, because it is a lot, especially if you have put your heart and soul into hundreds of listings. It's hard, dude. It's hard to see that they're not performing. It sucks. I'm going to be real honest with you. This particular, like we're on self-deprecation Thursday, I guess today. This particular listing that we're looking at together today, I can't tell you the last time I sold this. I mean, let me see. Actually, I might be able to tell you. Couldn't tell you. I put about $3,000 into building a mock-up shop. I'm talking pay the photographer, buy the clothes, pay the models, etc. And I would say at least, also I paid people to help me make the listings too, right? So I'm outsourcing to people building these. I probably put about 150 hours plus the $3,000. So if we think about how much my time is worth, way more than the $3,000 obviously ended up happening. And I think I made like $400 from the entire venture. 200 or 327 of which came from this one, for example. So Tracy, I hear you. I am with you. What I really like to do is just understand that it's not scary. It's just new. You know, like for real, like it's not like, look at these numbers. Like it's so easy to look at when you chunk them up like I have today. You're like, oh, 239 visits, 8 orders. Like it's easy for us to comprehend. But if you just jump into it, you're going to immediately get overwhelmed because it's just new. And not to get all neuroscientific on you guys today, but I am very, very interested in how the brain works. And this is one of the things that the brain is very freaking good at doing, is preventing you from feeling scared and preventing you from harm. And it's going to just immediately jump into what's called survival mode if you start getting overwhelmed. And it's going to, ironically, the brain is not kind to us sometimes. Like it's ironically going to make us more overwhelmed and scare us more because our brain is literally telling us, alert, this is scary. I don't know this. I might fail. All of these bad, negative self-talk things are happening subconsciously. We don't even know it's happening, but you can feel it in your body. And then you put it off for another week. And then you put it off for a month. And then you put it off for a year. And you're like, why the heck is my Etsy store not performing? And it's honestly, it's kind of sad, but it's kind of because your brain told you not to. Like you really have to just look at this piecemeal. You have to be able to overcome that fear of it's a little overwhelming. It's too much. I don't understand. Guys, there are literally thousands of resources out there that you can understand Etsy analytics. This is just one of thousands that we just happen to be doing today, right? So highly recommend, be resourceful, do it in chunks. Like, don't worry about jumping through all this stuff today, but like do it in chunks and then figure out, what is the absolute very next step that I can take? Not the 5th step, not the 50th step. What is the very next thing that I can do today to move the needle? And then tomorrow comes and we're going to do the exact same thing. And then Saturday comes and we're going to do the exact same thing again. And I don't know if you guys have ever read I'm really getting into like completely non-Etsy related stuff now. But if you guys have not read, I'm going to put it in the chat. If you haven't read the book Atomic Habits, highly, highly recommend everyone go check out Atomic Habits literally today, because that is one of the things that that author talks about is small little wins and small little habits every single day done for 365 days makes more advancements in your life than trying to do 10 habits all at once and then falling off of them consistently. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I've been breaking New Year's resolutions for 31 years now. So highly, highly recommend. Yes, Peggy calls it, or Peggy mentioned it. It's called the 1% improvement every single day is the Atomic Habits way. So highly recommend checking them out. And I know I just took a complete tangent, but I really wanted you guys to see that what we're looking at today is not something that I want you to go dive into and hate yourself tomorrow. Like, break it up just like I have. Look at these things, understand that they're telling us a story, and then figure out what's the next action step we can take to adjust them, okay? Moving on really quickly, because I know I'm running out of time. Sorry, guys, I talk way too freaking much. So the next thing that you'll see in your shop manager is the traffic terms, the traffic sources and the search terms. So what I really want to focus on here is, again, traffic sources. We kind of already went through that up there, but you should also see search terms for that particular listing, or those particular parameters. Obviously, I have blurred mine out, but see what yours show, because that's going to be the answer of, is my SEO doing well? Am I utilizing the right keywords? And if all of these are saying, like, let's say total visits for all of these is 0 to 5 over the course of 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, whatever your parameters are, that's not good. We need to fix that, right? So that's what I would highly, highly recommend, is taking a look at these search terms. And again, not beating ourselves up for it, because maybe we just learned this today and that's totally fine. Now we have the tools to be able to see, okay, it wasn't working. Why wasn't it working? Like, something is wrong. Utilizing tools like EverBee, utilizing the Etsy search bar, utilizing things inside Etsy itself. They're going to tell you what you could be performing through or with instead. So I like to look at that as well. The other thing I wanted to show you real fast, guys, I know we're running out of time, so we might have to break this up into 2 parts for next week. But the other thing I wanted to bring up, which is very controversial, so I don't know if I'm about to get a lot of flack for this in here, but Offsite ads. So I don't remember exactly where it is. I wish I would have taken a screenshot of it and I didn't. But in your shop manager, you're going to see something that says, like, it's very small, by the way. So just keep that in mind. If you're searching for it, it's not this big thing. It's not this graph. It is literally this big. And it says like something about review your offsite ads or whatever the case may be. So find that. It's a clickable link. I think there's even an arrow next to it. Find that in your shop manager, click on it with me so that we can see the same thing. So what's going to happen, it's going to take you here. And then, of course, as always, all data is going to have parameters. Just assume that, because I'm tired of saying the parameters word. But whatever the time is that you want, obviously, as you can see, you can adjust that as much as possible. What offsite ads is, and again, this is why it gets a little controversial. People don't like when their money gets taken away from them, of course. But as you can see, there are certain ways. So obviously, this particular shop has made over $10,000. So unfortunately, I am not able to opt out of offsite ads. But if I'm not mistaken, people who are not at that $10,000 threshold or more yet, you can opt out of this. Please, for the love of God, tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. Like, I will absolutely take criticism there, but I'm 99.9% sure that anybody below the 10,000 mark can opt out. Anybody above the 10,000 mark cannot. So just keep that in mind. So what I'm currently experiencing right now It is 15% up to that 10,000 threshold. Now I am paying a 12% advertising fee. So whatever you qualify for, it's going to be broken down here. And it's also going to show you how much revenue was driven from those offsite ads, which basically means, without getting too deep into the weeds, there's offsite ads and there's Etsy ads. So Etsy ads is you are putting money behind your listings to push them on Etsy. Offsite ads is you aren't paying a dime to push it, but you are paying a pretty dime to have the sale take place. So in this particular case, offsite ads for me, they clicked on the offsite ads of my listing 3,700 times, and there was 152 orders placed, which resulted in $5,900 in sales. However, the small little fine print right below that will show you paid blank in advertising fees on those sales. So $735 out of the $5,900. I don't do math well, but theoretically speaking, that should probably be around 12 to 15%, because as you can see, that is what I qualify for in this shop. And again, based on the timeline that I set. So I highly, highly recommend, if you do not know about that, I highly recommend that you go check that out, because that might be a reason why your profit margins aren't exactly where you want them. It might have literally zero to do with the price and the discounts and stuff that you're putting on. It strictly might just be offsite ads are helping you, because you're obviously like getting sales that you might not have gotten in the past with your own doing, but at the same time, just being mindful of the amount that's coming out, okay? With that said, we are currently at 11:01. I think all of you guys, we've got almost 100 people here still with me right now. We've got a good number of slides still to go through. In my heart, I knew that this was going to be a two-part series, strictly because it is so in-depth. And again, I don't want to overwhelm you guys. So if you guys are cool with it, let's put a pin in this today. I've got 3 questions that I do want to answer in the chat really fast. And of course, if there are any other questions that you have for me, please drop them in the chat so that I can get to them today for you. And the remainder of this training, I will push to next Thursday. So please, like I said, if you are not subscribed to the channel, go do that now and get ready for next Thursday to dive a little bit deeper. Let's see what we're doing after. So this is offsite ads still. So we're going to dive a little bit into search analytics a little bit more next week. And then again, diving into the individual listings themselves. But before I do that for next week, let's go ahead and hit these questions. Someone said, good question. Crystal said, is there a way to contact someone on the phone from Printify? I hate the chat feature. They take forever to respond. I'm so sorry you're dealing with that. I personally am able to get them to respond pretty quickly, even just utilizing the chat feature. So Crystal, I would just recommend, the cool thing about the Printify chat feature is when you send them a chat, it also gets added to your email. So there should be an email thread going. And if you hop off of the chat, they can still respond to that chat via email. So I just highly recommend keeping your eye on your email anytime you put a chat in with them. Because I do have some phone numbers, but I obviously cannot share those. So I just highly recommend utilizing their chat feature. Someone also said offsite ads are very expensive. If you have a low profit, for example, of 10% per order, it will always be too expensive. I opt out from this. Someone else said, and I'm going to put those two together, if you're only making 10% profit, you're hurting yourself and everyone else in your niche by having prices too low. Very interesting, Tia. So I don't think profit is very interesting. Because I don't think that means that his prices, it could be, of course, that could be one option, but it doesn't have to mean that your prices are too low and you're hurting the competition or you're hurting yourself. What it could truly mean, let's just use, trying to think of a really good example, luggage. Luggage is a really good one. Luggage is expensive as crap with a print-on-demand provider. And there's also things like when you do all over print on a hoodie, so front, back, arms, neck, sleeve, etc., starts getting really pricey. But the market is telling us that a hoodie can only go $45 to $65 max. but I want this particular hoodie that already cost me $30. That's where a 10% profit is going to make sense, unfortunately. So I would put a little, again, I always say I'm going to be a little devil's advocate for everybody in here. I'll put that in there that, yes, of course, we could be pricing ourselves out of the market, to be honest, pricing ourselves too low, but it also might be the products that we are choosing are putting us in that space to have a lower profit. So yes, I would highly recommend, if you are not interested, this is up to you. I personally like other people doing work for me. I don't like having to do all the work. So I also don't like paying for ads sometimes. So if you are open to it, I personally like to keep offsite ads on, because as you just saw, yeah, I spent $700 or whatever in the fees, but I made $5,000. So that's like a literal no-brainer number to me, because that means I made $4,300, which, granted, again, depending on where your profit margin is at, might not work out for you, and that is totally fine. But there is a way to opt out, like we mentioned, of offsite ads if that's not something you're interested in, and all you have to do is under the stats section of that, you can just simply click opt out. But again, I like to personally do that myself. So that's kind of what I wanted to chat about today, guys. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, a great weekend. Like I said, I'm actually heading to Chicago next week. So if any of you are in Chicago, let me know. Give me a wave while I'm there. And then I will come back with part 2 of this training next Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Okay. So I hope you guys, again, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Bye.